the market reaction, I guess, is not really surprising given the news flow coming through.
Right. And as you said, these bonds are now roughly 50 cents on the dollar. Yeah. These bonds only came out earlier this year. One of the bonds in January, one of them in February.
Yeah.
And so within
fresh out of the oven.
Yes, 3 to 4 months, they've already been halved. And so it just really shows that these bonds didn't go over well at all with the investment class, that folks are still really worried about where the debt levels are for this company.
How big are these debts? I mean, it seems like they're smaller than Evergrande.
Yes, definitely smaller.
And maybe not something systemic, but still ongoing stress.
Yes, and it's, as a conglomerate, it's involved in a number of different things. Property it's really its biggest asset. Now, for folks who aren't really familiar with Dalian Wanda, it went on a debt-fueled acquisition binge last decade. Among the assets it bought were the AMC theater chain in the U.S. And it's since sold it, but that's the kind of how wide their asset holdings had gotten over the years.
Yeah, it's really a reminder that while we are seeing the property market in some ways stabilize, I mean, the weakest do remain quite weak and really cash flow starved, aren't they?
Right. The liquidity crisis really hasn't changed much for a lot of these smaller and weaker developers, like you were saying. The state-owned firms are really the ones that have been really benefiting in the last year or so. They're the ones who have been logging sales growth. Property or private property firms have been falling. Country Garden, for example, long time the country's biggest developer. Now it's number 4 by sales. So it just shows that how these private sector firms really aren't doing well, even as the overall environment it seems to be improving.
What do you think could actually put a floor on some of these bonds? That you think it's still up to more policy aid? Do we see more consolidation? You know, what's needed?
It might be consolidation because it does seem as though the government has done what it feels that it needs to in order to stabilize the market, to get projects that have already been purchased by consumers to get them finished. That's really been the biggest concern, is to make sure that things that people have already paid for get completed.